button. So now the session is being recorded. We love to see your face. This is a highly interactive session. There's going to be discussion, so stick around even when we go into the breakout rooms. If you feel comfortable, keep your camera on, but we also recognize that if it's more comfortable to turn off your camera, that's okay too. We also recognize that, we're all still in this space together, maybe zooming in from home. So your kids, creatures, pod, and housemates are all welcome to join today's session. And then the other thing I invite you all to do is have something to take notes on and process your thoughts, because this will be a juicy session, I promise. And so today I want to share some key invitations for you all. I invite each of you today to listen deeply. When you're in this space, stay engaged, maybe turn off your phone, do what you need to do to be present in this moment to arrive in our virtual room. Embrace discomfort and notice tension. Explore those feelings, approach them with curiosity, love, and compassion. Don't forget to take care of yourself, whether that's giving yourself a hug or sipping something comforting like a chamomile tea. Take risks. So don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Human beings aren't perfect. These systems of injustice weren't built in a day. They're not going to be unlearned in a day. So don't be afraid to get vulnerable here. This is a vulnerable session. I know that Cherie will talk about that in a few. And then finally, hold each other with compassion. Social justice work is a practice. We will all make mistakes at some point along in our journey. And so I invite you all to hold yourself and hold others with compassion along the way. And so with that, I'm incredibly excited to introduce our facilitator and speaker today, Cherie Tang. Cherie is a developmental evaluation consultant. She has been and is an organizer, a grant maker, a capacity builder, facilitator, evaluator, so many amazing roles. And specifically, she's had 40 years of experience in the racial and social justice ecosystem. I know that our CEO, Sara Lomelin, has worked with her in the past and cannot say enough amazing things with her. I have loved connecting with her over the last month or so, and I know that you all will love it too. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Cherie and let her lead the way on the topic of healing is love. Or love is healing, geez.
Kelsey, thank you. Healing is love and love is healing. It goes both ways. It goes all directions. It is such an honor to be in this space with you today. My name is Cherie Tang. I use the pronoun she, her, hers, and anything that's loving. And it's great to see you all. Would love to have you put in chat. Where are you calling in from today? What land are you on? And what do you have on your feet? That's a surprise question.
I love that. I'm going to keep that.
Chat in your name, your pronouns. Where are you calling in from today? And what's on your feet? I will say I'm greeting you today from the land of the Muskogee people in Atlanta, Georgia. After our session, I am on my way home to Oakland, California. I live in Cali and Georgia. And I have slippers on my feet, blue ones. So would love to know what's on your feet as well. I want to take a moment to just express gratitude for this invitation to share. And every time I get to talk about love and healing, it is a great day. Thank Kelsey and Philanthropy Together for this invitation and for all of your presence. Once you have put in your chat, I invite us to put out both feet on the ground. Sit up really straight if that's accessible and comfortable. Pretend there's a string pulling our head to the skies so that our spine is straight and comfortable. I want to invite us into 3 deep breaths together. On the sigh out, make a sound. 2nd deep breath. And the third. Thank you for that. And all of your sharings. I'm going to share my screen and take us to this slide deck that I've prepared. All right, let me move this. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am as we get started. I come to you today as a person that was born as a colonized subject of the British Empire. 64 years ago, I was born in the island of Hong Kong, the smell good harbor, Hong Kong. Everywhere I looked was Queen Elizabeth's face. Her porcelain skin, her porcelain face was on everything that represented power, money, stamps, in the bank, right, would be a big portrait of Queen Elizabeth. At the police station, at City Hall. I grew up knowing that wasn't me. I was a second-class citizen in my own mother island. And then at age 11, my mother decided that we should immigrate to the United States because my older brother and sisters were here to reunite the family and to get a good free education as it was promised. 11 years old, I spoke maybe 12 words in English. We landed in a town right outside Boston called Arlington, Massachusetts, 1971. It was the height of bus stop. A group of mostly white parents, women mostly, stopping busing as a vehicle for integration. I used to watch a lot of TV to learn English. And I was terrified. What is this place we just landed? Why are they doing that? Throwing big rocks as big as my cell phone at little Black children coming off yellow school buses from Dorchester, Jamaica Plains. Why were they doing that? Throwing rocks at them. Is that what's going to happen to me? I became a very confused and angry teenager. And I decided that my life would be devoted to ending this type of terror and violence that's based on hate. So I've been healing my whole life. And today I want to share with you some things that in my last probably 8 years have really devoted my energy to on is how do we measure love? How do we heal with love into balance? This is a piece that brown paper, we call it, intentionally called brown paper. And I invite you to download it when we're done and to read it, to comment, to reach out to me. Today's topic of healing and love is how radically are you loving yourself? How radically are you loving yourself as part of your journey for racial equity and equity in our society? To what extent are you honoring grief in your life? To what degree are you welcoming rebirth and integrating health and harmony from the inside out? My co-authors, Audrey Jordan, Kate Morales, Rosa Gonzalez, and I, we believe that catalytic love is an intentional decolonizing act on the road of racial equity. That love is an infinite well inside each of us. It's not like a glass of water or a cell phone battery. Once you use it up, it's gone. No, it's rechargeable. It has catalytic power, right? Once you deploy it into the world, it will take on energy of its own. Love is an intentional decolonizing act. Like white supremacy, colonization has established that there's only one way of knowing. That is knowledge. Knowledge that is rational, logical, data-driven, written down, right? No, we need to interrupt the colonial act of separating us, separating our knowing, and break this binary. It is not only rational knowledge that is a way of knowing, right? We know that there is the mind, there's the heart, and there's spirit. The mind allows us to process our thoughts, our analysis, our data. Our heart, like this big muscle, is where our feelings based on our senses and perception. And then there's spirit. There are times when we don't know why or how we know things, but we do know. It sits in our intuition. It sits in our gut. It's ways of knowing based on ancestral wisdom and lineage. It's an internal spiritual knowing. And all three, right, plus physical knowing. Our body carries our memories. So all that is how we know things. Lately, I've been telling my two sons to stop trusting their minds. If I want to do something, my mind will give me 1,000 reasons why I should do it. Or if I don't want to do something, my mind will tell me 1,001 reasons why I shouldn't do it. I've been relying more on my heart and my gut knowing, and then running it past my mind. So in reverse order. And by radical self-love, we mean embracing our light and our shadow, right? Having the courage to look at what is bright and what is not. And the thing that's rotting inside really is starving for some love. So how do we radically love ourselves beyond the feel good, right? And embracing our light and our shadow. So in measuring love, the first brown paper, we start with self-love as the core, right? That is the centerpiece. It then reverberates and ripple out to how we love others in our intimate lives. From there, it ripples out as love is a community practice. We live in community, we're born in community, we will die in community, and everything in between is a community practice. So how do we bring that love as a community practice? And then the outermost layer is love that is fused with power. We all have power. If we don't use it, we lose it. Yet if our power is not fused with love, it runs danger of being transactional, power over, and not power with, right? So we really start at the innermost ring, which is loving ourselves. So in our brown paper, we posit there are 12 dimensions of love in these 4 categories. It is not the 12th dimension. It is only 12 dimensions. Use it, add to it, play with it, take some out that you may not totally jive with or resonate with. It's good. Make it living. Self-love, conscious of how we are in integrity with our own values. Am I who I say I am when nobody's looking? Because conscious of how I am in integrity with my own values is not something performative. Second, in self-love is critical analysis of our own thoughts and behaviors, right? It's not enough to just say, I am an ally. No. I got to show up and act, behave like an ally. So that when you call me an ally, I am truly an ally. I can't put that sticker on my forehead and walk around the block. Oh yeah, I'm an ally. No, it doesn't work that way, right? So I have to have constantly a critical analysis of what I'm thinking and how I'm behaving. That is in integrity with my own values of who I say I am. And then the third dimension on self-love is that self-care as revolutionary acts of resistance in a society that does not want me to succeed, does not see me, does not seek out my opinion. So to love myself and to live a long, healthy life, that's a revolutionary act of resistance, of oppression and inequities. And then we show up loving others. How do we do that? We do that with deep listening. We're not practicing or rehearsing what we're going to say when other people are speaking, right? We're deeply listening from a heart space. With compassion and understanding that we each have a story, that we've each been on a journey. And if I don't ask, I won't know. And I will just swallow by my own assumptions about who you are. So in loving you, I show up with deep listening and compassion and understanding and forgiveness, this chance to do over. We are not single story people. There's a danger in being identified by our single story or the worst thing that I've ever done. So how do we forgive ourselves? Forgive each other for a chance to do over. That we are not the worst thing that we have ever done. And to interrogate ourselves in order to forgive people who have trespassed our trust. In writing Healing Love, I had to ask, what is the worst thing I've ever done? Who am I to sit here and judge? And then I bring my self-love and my capacity to love you as a community practice. How do we organize others and develop others so that they shine as the leaders that they have always been? How do we spread vision and hope, right? For recently, I learned the difference between being an older and an elder. I can just age and become older. Or I can age and become elder. Spreading vision and hope no matter what age we're in is part of that love for our community. And I want to do that as an elder, right? And fighting for material change is how I show up to love my community. Talk is cheap. How are we improving and strengthening the material conditions of our people as a way to love on our community in practice? And then lastly, right, the four on the right, love that is fused with power. First of all, we have to own and materialize our power. We each have power. If we don't use it, we leave it on the table for others. Two is sharing power with, right? If I'm in rooms where there are other people with power, how do I bring the people who are not in that room with me? Right? So when I rise, everything I'm about rise with me. That is true for each of you. When you own your power, when you bring your power into rooms that you are in, everything you are about rise with you. And then consciously building power for collective liberation. I know you believe that, otherwise you wouldn't be here in philanthropy together, right? For those of us who have privilege, our job is to do more. We build as we climb. Ooh. Okay. How we radically love ourselves is under the waterline on the slide to your left. On the top are the ways we self-soothe. I want to take a look at these with you. We can go paint our nails. I can take a hot bubble bath. I can have a vice of my choice at 5 p.m. or whatever it is, right? I can exercise. I can go get a massage. I can listen to music. Those are all the ways of self-comforting, self-soothing. Those are easy to see and perhaps easier to do. When we're radically loving ourselves, you know what we're doing? We are staying in integrity with our values, and we are being ruthlessly honest. Radically loving ourselves is not an easy thing. That we are on purpose with our life goals, and that we're doing the mirror work of interrogating our inner lives. Right? Of staying in harmony, staying on purpose. We are bringing repair resolution to the worst things we've done. We are addressing the traumas that's blocking our full holistic integration of self. We're asking, what's blocking my energy flow to remain positive? And then we recognize the things that are in our control and the things that are not. Out of our controls like the past, the future, the media, algorithms, other people's behaviors and beliefs, other people's opinions of me. What is in my control is my energy, the way I talk to myself, the words that come out of my mouth, the way I care about myself, my boundaries, what I say yes to, what I say no to, what I consume, right? Both figuratively and literally. The work that I'm putting in on myself, that is in my control. My attitude, my response, who I follow on social media, right? Those are all in my control. So being vulnerable can feel like we need to defend and be defended, right? Guard and be guarded inside our safe heart shells that have become quite resilient, impermeable, unaffected because of fear. Because soft things like our tenderness, our truths, our heart, our feelings, right, do need defending. We're creatures with long childhoods, willing at times to be vulnerable. I read a lot of Brené Brown, and Brené Brown has encouraged me to understand that being vulnerable is the most courageous thing I will ever do. So Kelsey's gonna help us go into random pairs. Love for you to spend like 8 minutes, not very long, but long enough to talk a little bit about what helps you in loving yourself and what don't. What helps you in loving yourself? And what are some practices that are actually counterproductive? There's no reporting out. We do not need to die by reporting out. You will keep what you talk about in the pairs. And if you'd like to share a couple of gems or nuggets when we come back, I would love that. But there's not going to be a round of reporting out. So enjoy the pairs. God, that is music to my heart, Tamara. Would you mind sharing that, a little bit of your nugget?
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Just in our partnership conversation, we just started to talk about the value of sisterhood. And sorry, I was sharing with my partner that I'm fully in my bonnet. I'm in relaxed mode. I'm in my bed. I'm talking to you from a really calm energy. So pardon if I'm not on camera, but trust me, I'm not on camera ready today. Okay. But we were just really talking about the value of sisterhood and how important, the women and the men that we work with, and how much bringing them into our lives personally has such an important opportunity for us to, just to find value and solidarity and care in one another, and just bringing in those, the importance of how those working and personal relationships kind of fuse together in a number of ways, and it can also be harmful in other ways. But how important it is to be like radically caring for one another in a place of work. So we had a nice little discussion around that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share a nugget or something that you got out of the conversation without reliving it?
I guess something our conversation brought up for me was I remembered something this professor out here in Minnesota taught me, which his name's Dr. Raj, and he said that a lot of times in our society, because of our educational system and our corporate structure and economy, the way we're taught to think is that when somebody's speaking, we should be analyzing what they're saying and preparing to respond on what we think is most important or would be the best thing to say. And so the conversation we had in that group sparked a reminder of that conversation, and me being like, I need to remember to listen, to actually listen what people are saying and not be like preparing to say what I think is the best thing to say.
Oh, Michael, yes, thank you. I think there are so many ways that we have been miseducated or uneducated or wrongly educated in this society, that it's good that is a beautiful reminder, right? Yeah. Anybody else share a nugget or gem? Drop a gem on us. Okay, then I'm gonna keep us moving. So our premise is that colonization, right? The effects of colonialism has really had centuries of creating harm. And disconnecting us from one another, right? The racial hierarchy, the racial hatred and violence in our history, the genocide, right, has really disconnected us. So how do we move from disconnection back to who we really are? Loving beings, right? So radical self-love is the beginning. And then we reach for one another in this mutuality. If we study nature, I've done a little play with biomimicry, is that everything in nature has a mutual relationship to each other, right? There's not one mechanism, organism in nature that just does one thing. There's always a symbiotic relationship with something else, right? So the mutuality that we are in beloved community together, that actually care about one another and bring those into a life-affirming systems and living in harmony with Mother Earth. And in mutuality, it's important to realize that we have boundaries and that we need these boundaries to affirm where I end and you begin. I am a firm believer that by having healthy, strong, clear boundaries is where I love myself and love you. Where I love myself and I can love you from a place of having strong boundaries and being whole myself. What does it take? It takes self-cleansing, like preparing, right? I need to be cleansed and prepared. And in my cleansing work, it's really about digesting of the things that no longer serve the holistic me. It's digesting and composting into that mutuality. So it starts with self-cleansing and digestion. And in that, we say opposite of life is not death, it's trash, right? Life and death is really one cycle. When I die, I hope to return to the earth and become nutrients for all the living things. And in that way, we are constantly giving, not just taking. So opposite of life is not death, it's trash. Trash that is just waiting there, not living and not dying. We're in a state of suspension between what is dying and decaying and what is becoming, right? We're in the process of composting. Let's make that process conscious. Let's make that process intentional. And times are urgent, so we need to slow down. Let us stay here a little longer and do the work, right? I've probably been facilitating for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And a lot of folks say, oh, let's get to the work. Let's, I don't want too much ice breaking. I'm like, all I can do is laugh these days, I don't want to do all that like ice breaking. You know what's in the ice breaking? In the ice breaking is building relationships everything that we want to accomplish comes from having relationships and staying in community. What if we saw that as the work? Right? Come as we are, come as you are. Whatever your brokenness is, we all have it. Let's not pretend it's not true. It just is. Now we can just be connected, warts and all, in love and power, relationships that are conscious. All of us are doing it. We got to plan, mobilize, strategize, connect dots, channel, shift structures, shift states. How do we continue to find ways to row together? So again, Kelsey's will send us into trios. What is a piece of trash in your life that needs to be composted? What is possible when that piece of trash is composted? So I will see you in 10, 11 minutes. Everyone. Any nuggets, any gems you'd like to share? Any questions for me? Any comments so far? Would love to hear from a few of you before I keep going. Anything?
I'd love to share. Oh, I see Mary's hand. Yeah.
We were together. You share.
You go first, Mary. Go first, please.
Well, we were both talking about how we were hesitant to share, hesitant to be vulnerable, right? So we kind of got a little more real and talked a little bit about like self-hate and how detrimental that can be, and that is like easily like a piece of trash that you can just toss out, you know, and
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
I was just going to add that, like, I really appreciated Mary's bravery in the face of my fear. And she really just helped me to have an honest, self-reflective moment. And from what I've learned so far, Mary is like a total badass and she's going to take over the world. So just wanted to put that out there for folks.
Love it. Love it. Yes. You know what? We're all badasses. I think we each are. And the self-hatred, right, is really part of white supremacy, dominant culture, racial hierarchy. It's done a job on us. And now it's internal. They don't have to do it anymore because we do it ourselves.
Have the training program, right? So that I mean, what Mary Tamara shared kind of aligned with what we were talking about around other people's metrics of us and having to meet them. And I talked about the enoughness that you internalize what someone else's version of enough for you is, that you're meeting their metrics. So great way to frame that with self-hate, because we're taught that because we think that we're not enough or we're not measuring up to someone else's metrics, then that self-hate of ourselves. And as I was telling the ladies, I said, we know that we're talented. We know that we have accolades and awards and we've done all these amazing things. I definitely know. I have lived in other countries and did it too. But I've internalized someone else's interpretation of what that looks like for me, because I'm not enough, or I didn't meet the quota, or I didn't raise enough money, or I didn't recruit enough women, or whatever it is. It's just amazing how I've digested their food for me.
That's right. That's right. And now it's time to eat some of your own, right? Yes, exactly. And how powerful it is to do it in community and be witnessed. Love that, Quinn. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So as we lay to rest some of our trash, we make room for what's being reborn. That is defined by ourselves. And then I want to talk a little bit about pedestals. Like those monuments paying homage to white supremacists, they need to die. I want you to take a minute, just a minute. How is being identified as a donor, a funder, a giver, as being on a pedestal for those of you who are? Those of you who approach donors, funders, givers, how have you used or not used a pedestal? Maybe write down a few words that come to you, a thought, an idea. The role of pedestals in your life. I want to conclude with a few more slides and remarks. So what if to work were replaced with to love? Touching, hearing, seeing, tasting, feeling the joy is the work. What if we flip those measures that Mary, Quinn were talking about, right? Those definitions, those metrics that have been imposed on us. What if we could rewrite them? And joy is at the top of that list. What would happen then? And to remember, right, that the power comes from below. Just like the earth, right? Plants grow from the earth, from below. That we are really transforming the culture of leadership and distributed power. That we each have a role to play. We each, as we climb, we lift others with us. Right? There's so many kinds of power, used and unused, acknowledged or otherwise. The erotic is the resource within each of us that lies in a deeply female and spiritual plane, firmly rooted in the power of our unexpressed or unrecognized feeling. Is Audre Lorde, and erotic is power. My co-author Kate Morales' beautiful drawings and visuals that you see throughout the slide deck and the brown paper, right, has been teaching me about queering the future. And I want to recognize Kate and their teaching that we ought to return to our eros and be fully alive. And you might think, oh, what's that got to do with love and equity, right? We are all erotic beings. Colonization has put our eros underground and put a price tag on it and made it a commodity when it really belongs to us. So I want to leave you. Say, what is one thing you are willing to do moving forward to more radically love yourself? And the reason why I end with eros, right, is that we all have it. We are all human. I can't tell you how many times folks have apologized to me for crying. And I push back. Say, if you're not going to apologize for laughing or smiling, I don't need or want you to apologize for crying. Because when you cry, it shows me you are alive, you are feeling, you are being fully human. So invite us all to step fully into our eros, where we feel and are fully human. And moving forward, what is one thing you're willing to do or try to more radically love yourself? If you're willing, if you're comfortable, share it in chat. And this code, if you bring your camera to it, I believe it will take you to the brown paper, Healing Love. Thank you, you all. I would love to hear any comments, reactions, any questions, anything at all that you have on your heart.
Thank you for the presentation and this space. And I would also say the word love is overly romanticized in partner love and the media, and we don't get to have this kind of conversation around love. So I think it's still new for me, new for a lot of people. And I think that unlearning and practicing it in a different way is really important. So thank you.
Thank you for naming that. There are two domains that have really cornered love: the church and popular media, right? Popular culture. And for us in the social benefit sector, if we're not talking about love, what are we doing? Why are we here, right? And the shying away from talking about love, because it's been so pegged, right, and cornered by all the romanticism, fall in love. I think we need to claim it. So thank you.
I also shared in the chat that I think we need to grant ourselves permission, and we don't do enough of that. That it's okay to feel, to cry, to love, to sit with the things that need to, the things that come up, and do something with that. So I know for me, it's just granting myself permission.
Yes. And when you grant yourself permission, Quinn, you give permission to everyone around you to do the same. So don't underestimate, right, your power as a catalyzing force in the world. Thank you. Yes.
If it's okay that I jump in, I just wanted to, it's funny that my new soulmate here, Mary and Twin Flame, just asked about using those who are using fear mongering to impose their own ideas, because what I was going to share for myself is the way I hope to just radically come against like those forces and be more vocal and brave. And there's this space, I think, that's been created for us who do this work and us who share these values, that we have to play nice with them, and we have to make sure we don't say the wrong thing, because that's going to change the whole course of how they look at feminists. And like the radical was ours, right? The radical was ours. The radical self-love was ours before they tried to take it away from us and have taken it away from us. And I think just the radical energy that we have, we can put it against those movements as much as we're putting it for our movements, right? And And I just think the bravery that Mary showed to me in the last session is where I'm just trying to channel that bravery for myself, and just be bold, be voices where our partners don't have them. And that's how I'd love to use my pedestal, where folks have been the sacrificial lamb forever and have been unsafe and attacked, and where I haven't, let me shoulder some of that for them, because they've been carrying it. They've been dying like literally dying. And I haven't. And, I'm just grateful for this moment to be in this space with you all, and just to be able to just share your energy. And I'm so like, are we meeting next Wednesday? Is that what's happening? But no, just wanted to say thank you. And just, I'm really grateful to be able to just spend the afternoon with some beautiful energy to talk this through. So thank you so much.
Tamara, I love you telling us you're in your bonnet and sitting on your couch. I can just imagine, right? Yes, we need to create and give ourselves permission to be, and to be fully alive and engaged. Thank you for your comments. Really appreciate it. All right. Thank you for all the comments you've put in chat. And the poetry links. This is great. Kelsey, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Cherie. And thank you, program participants. As I mentioned at the top of this session, this season is incredibly personal for me. And it also is really daunting to put out a season on healing, knowing kind of the preconceived notions about what healing is and how it relates, or maybe for some folks thinking that it doesn't relate to collective giving. This is part of a larger season, so I highly encourage you to RSVP to the other sessions if this was something that really struck you. You can do so at philanthropytogether.org/equity, and I'll drop that in the chat right after I'm done talking. But please join us. And for those of you who are interested in going deeper and having like a closed space that won't be recorded to discuss the content that we've seen in these sessions, I also host a community of practice. So feel free when you're RSVPing for those forms, just check that you're interested and we'll make sure that you get flowed into that space. But again, I just, big thank you to Cherie. Go check out her brown papers, and also big thank you to all you participants who continuously show up and engage in this deep, meaningful, hard work. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Cherie. And I will continue to see y'all on the webinars. If you want to stay in touch, send me an email. I'm always down for a virtual one-on-one, or if you happen to be in the greater Boston area, let me know, because I will absolutely drive anywhere in New England to say hi to folks. So with that, have an amazing evening. Take care of yourself. Maybe spend some extra time with these juicy questions. And with that, have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Big love to everyone.
Big
Thank
love.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Kelsey. Sorry, I was just capturing some email addresses from the chat. So
No worries whatsoever.